Hello and welcome to Warhammer Wednesday. This is going to be my review of the Eldar Wraithlord. This model separately will cost you £28, which is another great reason why you should rush out and get the Craft Worlds box set, because the Wraithguard are 30, this model's 28, that's £58. Already you're saving £8 just from those two boxes of miniatures. So what I'll do is I'll talk about the model first of all, I'll show you the spare parts, and then we'll do a few size comparisons and I'll talk about the rules, all in this one video. The model, bit tricky to build. I had a few issues with the legs and this cloak thing. It's difficult because the contact points, they're not huge there to get it just right. Also, to get the hips right, they're spindly, thin pieces. To get the legs, the hips and the feet all correct and making him look like he's sort of walking forward, striding the battlefield, it's a little bit tricky. The arms weren't too bad to go together. If anything, I'd probably glue the assault weapons on the fists first if I was to do it again. And these weapons at the top went on quite well. I've gone for probably the most expensive and uncompetitive loadout you can possibly take, but hey, I think it looks cool, and that's what I'm going for. With the Wraithlords, I've always gone for the Bright Lances ever since that they could reduce armor more than 14 down to 12, and you know, if you've grown up with 8th edition and that's the only edition you've grown up with, you're probably thinking armor value, what on earth is an armor value? Well, back in the day, tanks and things, I say back in the day, it's only like a year ago, back in the day, tanks and things had armor values for different sides, and these were really good against land raiders that had armor 14. It would reduce it down to 12 and their strength was 8, so it's a 50-50 chance with a Bright Lance to get a glancing or penetrating hit. Now I'm just giving you even more useless information. What's a glancing penetrating hit? Well, that's a story for another day. Essentially, I've equipped him with this Ghostglaive, which is this massive sword that is even bigger than a Primaris Space Marine. I mean, that's just insane. Nothing is bigger than a... okay. And then I've equipped him with the flamers on each fist. The shuriken catapults you don't have to pay anything for, but these you have to pay, I think, 7 points, if my memory serves me right. And the Bright Lances, I think they're like 20 points each. So it's quite an expensive loadout, but if anything, it's well themed. And he does look pretty cool. This sleek, thin look. I want to say that kind of samurai type kind of feel to it, ninja-esque. I mean, that's what I want to sort of say about the model. It looks very much like that. But there you go. Yeah, as I say, tricky for the hips and the legs, but everything else went together quite well. You'll finish this in an hour or two, if that. Would I get another one? Hell yes, definitely. Probably with different weapon loadouts, maybe not even the sword, maybe just go without the sword, but the sword is so cool, right? It's a shame you can't get a shield for it. I mean, you can get shields for the Wraithguard and the Wraith Knights, but you can't get a little sun shield for the Wraithlord. I mean, for the Wraith Seer, which is a Forge World model, £40, I'd go check that out if you're interested. That does have a little shield and a sword, and I think it's even actually got a D-cannon as well, which is horrific, but there you go. So yeah, lovely looking miniature. What I'll do is I'll just show you some spare parts that you get. You get a fair few actually. I see why Games Workshop have done it. I see why they've put the Warwalker in now, because some of the spare parts, the weapons in particular, are compatible with the Warwalker. So, and I'll show you that in a moment. Okay, so you get a couple of extra feet for the different poses. You can't bend the legs, that's the only sort of downside with this model. It'd be cool if the knees were articulated, then you could do them crouching, kneeling, you know, leaping, whatever, but the legs are just a mono pose thing. I think that's the only like big letdown in the articulation of the model. I think also the elbows would be good if they could have done that, but at least you can move the hips and the ankles. You get the missile launcher, which just doesn't look like a missile launcher at all. It is a scatter laser. I might have called it a multi-laser, but scatter laser. It's the Imperial one that's a multi-laser. And then a shuriken cannon, and then a couple of shuriken catapults that you could put on there instead of flamers. And then you get a couple of like flowing robe things that I probably will put on another one. You get like a groin armor guard thing that, you know, you don't have to put on there if you don't want to. I mean, actually, looking at it now, that does look cooler. Yeah, I might actually put that on there. Yeah, and then it hides that bit too. Okay, well, that's my mind made up on that. You get different arms and hands and fingers, so none of them pointing. And unfortunately, because it's plastic, unlike the old metal model, which I'll show you very shortly, you can't sort of bend a finger and have him with a middle finger, well, you know what I mean, or pointing or anything like that. You just got it open-handed or a fist. Or with this, which I'm not actually sure what that's for, unless it's to put on a gun, is it? Can you put it on a gun? Maybe that's what that's for. I was quite stumped with that. Yeah, so they're all the spare parts. Not many, but you can use all these big weapons with the War Walker. So I'll certainly check out my review of that coming shortly to the channel. Okay, so let's do a few size comparisons. Well, compared to the little Farseer in the box, absolutely dwarfs that model. I mean, look at that. It's crazy how much it dwarfs him. Tallest model is taller than the old Wraithlord 2. I'll show you that in a moment. So that's a Farseer. Next to sort of little brother, Wraithguard. I mean, the Wraithguard got a bit of a size increase and a bigger base, but dwarfs a Wraithguard as well. So definitely dominates the battlefield, and obviously a Wraith Knight is even more sort of taller. Compared to a Space Marine, yeah, towers over a tiny little Space Marine, and even towers over a taller Primaris Space Marine too. So there you go. And here he is next to an old metal Wraithlord, which I need to change that base and put him on a round base at some point. But there you go. He is a little bit taller. That's bent a little bit. That always sort of bends. But that's the old model. It's fully metal. The paint job is terrible. I need to change a few things on there and get some highlighting and things set up. Also definitely need to go over that bone. That bone is just awful. Bit of dry brushing with bleach bone and then pallid witch flesh, I think, for that. But yeah, there you go. That is the difference. I mean, it's such a cooler model than the old one. But hopefully that helps. He is taller, much nicer base too than the old Wraithlord model. So I hope that helps. Okay, so this is the part of the review where I talk to you about all of the rules. It is a heavy support choice in your brand new Eldar Codex Craft Worlds. It's a power level of 8. Unfortunately, it's one of these units where the more damage it takes, the worse it becomes, which I think is just terrible. But essentially, the remaining wounds, if it's got 6 to 10 wounds, the movement is 8 inches, weapon skill 3+, ballistic skill 3+. 3 to 5 wounds, it's 7 inches movement, weapon skill 4+, ballistic skill 4+, and then 1 to 2 wounds, movement is dropped right down to 6 inches, weapon skill 5+, and ballistic skill 5+. Its base strength is 7, its toughness is 8, it's got 10 wounds, 4 attacks as base, leadership 9, and a save of 3+. Unfortunately, it doesn't have an invulnerable save, which is shocking, which is another reason why it needs a little sun shield. Give it, even if it just gave it like a 5+ invulnerable. I mean, you know, a Farseer has got a 4+ invulnerable, for crying out loud. It's armed with 2 shuriken catapults and wraithbone fists. You can replace any shuriken catapult with a flamer. A model may take a ghost glaive, and a model may take up to 2 items from the heavy weapons list. Mine has, as you can see, at a detriment to its points value, obviously, and the ghost glaive costs some points too, but the flamers do. So I've pretty much equipped him in quite an expensive loadout. So I've got 2 bright lances there, which I'll go over the specific rules for in a moment, and 2 flamers. It's got its fists, and then it's got the ghost glaive. Now the flamers, which I've equipped him with, range 8 inches, assault d6, strength 4, damage 1, but they automatically hit. You've got a potential there of 12 hits at anything charging you or whatever. Shuriken catapults, they're just as normal, 12-inch range, assault 2, strength 4, and wound rolls of 6+. They're resolved at AP -3 instead of 0. The ghost glaive adds +2 to the strength, so it's now bumping it up to strength 9. AP is -4. Hey ho, so that's good against Terminators and Space Marines. Damage d6, so that's incredible. And Wraithbone Fists, same strength of the user, it's still 7 and still AP -3, and damage is 3. So The Ghost Glaive, if you choose that, you've got a good chance of getting 4 or more. If you choose the Wraithbone Fists, then you're still hitting at strength 7 and you still got that AP 3 and you guaranteed damage 3. So even without that Ghost Glaive, the fists are still pretty effective. The abilities, Ancient Doom, so he can fire as if he wasn't moving. And of course the heavy weapons that he can have is the Eldar missile launcher, which isn't very good, the Bright Lance, the Scatter Laser, the Shuriken Cannon, or the Star Cannon. Now, I did originally have a Wraithlord that had a Star Cannon on, but I swapped it for a Bright Lance, but Star Cannons are pretty good, and I've actually put them on my Warwalker. Anyway, the Bright Lances that I've equipped mine with is 36-inch range, so his movement normally is 8 inches, which isn't too bad, so it means he's still got an effective range of 44 inches, which isn't too bad. It's a heavy one shot, strength 8, AP -4, damage D6. So you've got your strength 8, you've got your AP -4 again, so with the Ghost Glaive you're meleeing with AP -4, and you've got your D6 damage again that the Ghost Glaive has. So this unit has the potential of absolutely wrecking things with more than one wound, so vehicles or characters, and everything's just got a lot more wounds than it used to. You know, you're getting Primaris apothecaries with I think 4 or 5 wounds, and the ones in Gravis armor with 5 or 6 wounds even. So, you know, you need a lot of weaponry that has that extra damage that will help whittle those wounds down. Pretty much why I've gone for that. And then the Flamers help me if I get attacked. They're good for Overwatch, and they're also good at just whittling down hordes as well. Seeing as the unit hasn't got that many attacks with only 4, and it could get, you know, bogged down. Unlike the Wraith Knight, it can just jump in and out. But there you go. So that's all I wanted to say about the Wraithlord. Do you think it's still a good unit? Are there any scenarios where you definitely take one? And what would you equip it with instead? Please do put all your thoughts and comments down in the section below. Thank you ever so much for joining me today. Thank you for watching. The Emperor protects.